Yesterday, Congressman Louis Gohmert joined us on the show, and he was talking a little bit about what happened in Washington this past Saturday. There was a Mega Million March, and people were MAGA, the Million Man MAGA, whatever it was, march. But basically, it was a march in Washington by over 1 million supporters of President Trump, who were there and basically to march in favor of demanding fair elections, stop the steal, demanding all the election fraud that's come to surface be exposed. And so Congressman Gohmert, spoke there. And he was very, very good. You know, he was impassioned, and of course, he's a favorite among conservatives in this country. One of the truly few patriots willing to speak up when things are very challenging and when it's not popular with the media. One thing he said that day, which I didn't bring up in yesterday's interview, but he talked about this being information warfare. And part of what I want to hit in this first 5 today is the idea that, you know, we've been talking in this show so much about you have to get to fair election results. You've got to get to the result that tells you who actually won in the election of 2020, not who MSNBC, CBS, ABC, and all left-wing media is trying to just proclaim or coronate that Joe Biden won, but, you know, the real process, the real honesty, and which includes digging in and understanding all of what appears to have occurred with the electronic manipulation of voter tabulation software. What actually happened? How much cheating was there? As you've likely seen across this country, we've had affidavits of people who are on the ground telling about they were supposed to be a poll watcher, but the Democrats wouldn't let them into the poll watching room, or the Democrats put the tables 10 feet back so you couldn't see. Another person had an affidavit saying, hey, you know, we're supposed to be poll watching, so they're counting these ballots, but they had, you know, 6 tables lined up of people counting ballots and 1 poll watcher for the whole row of 6 tables. So obviously you can't see what's happening. You can't see, did they put the Biden vote in the Trump category or the Trump vote in the Biden? Did they actually count? So there were in many, many jurisdictions simply there was no meaningful poll watching, which is a fundamental aspect of fair elections in America, fundamental. But the other thing Louis Gohmert was talking about, and I want to mention today in this first 5, has to do with the idea of information warfare. And that really is this idea that what is put out to the public, what the public hears and understands, becomes truth. If you are the media, you think when you're the media and you're the left-wing media, we decide truth, we define truth. So we are saying Biden won, and therefore all information that flows out to the public must be consistent with the left-wing media decision. And I know that many people in this country will say, well, okay, well, there are some people like that. You know, some people who are in the media who are pushing an agenda, but not everybody. And there's some people in the media, you know, who may, maybe stridently pro-Biden or pro-leftist or something. But it's not coordinated. I mean, it's not like they all talk to each other and get a game plan. Well, I don't know how it happens, but I want to play for you a video. This was in a tweet put out by James Woods, the brilliant and just wonderful, really skilled at putting out meaningful, impactful Twitter posts, tweets on Twitter. But he put out a video on Twitter. This is a montage of various left-wing outlets in this country. And when I say left-wing, you might think, oh, you mean like Politico or Vox or one of the, you know, Slate, one of the clearly radical leftists. I mean people standing there doing the evening news on television, and many people probably look at them and think, well, this isn't left-wing, this isn't Vox and Politico and Slate, this is the evening news, you know, it's pretty straightforward. So I want to have you listen to the montage that James Woods put together.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble running irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things they think are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Okay, stop and contemplate. That was not just a montage of one particular news outlet. It isn't like Fox National, which has gone all leftist. It's not like Fox National told everyone in the country, say these words. These are all different news outlets, different organizations, different around the country. And this was a brilliant thing James Woods did. Brilliant tweet that he did. But I really want to talk a little bit about today. You talk about what Louis Gohmert talked about at the Million MAGA March in Washington, information warfare. This is left-wing thought police media deciding they're going to tell America not only what to think, they've agreed on exactly how to say it and what to think, but the particular goal of what they were saying in that montage was, don't listen to all these other outlets. I mean, you know, very, very crazy people out there saying crazy things. You can't listen to them. They're saying we are the source for truth. They're saying we, which is clearly the radical left agenda thinking, are the source for truth. We'll tell you, so don't listen to what these crazy other outlets say. Don't listen to what you may hear on a show like this, America Can We Talk, or any other show. Listen to the authorities. Listen to the ruling elite media class. Listen to us. Don't listen to these people. And they put out the idea like, well, you know, they're putting ideas out there that aren't so important, so aren't so right. I want to talk about that quite a bit today. I want to actually ask Matt the Wonderful to, as I said, rewind the tape. That used to be actually something you had to do. I guess you don't do that anymore. But I want to start it again, then stop it and just mention a couple things. So Matt, if we can start that over, and I'll probably stop it pretty quickly.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced
let's
journalism.
hold on one second. Okay, all of them really like using the word community. Community, it's a beautiful word, of course, when it means something. But the community notion is designed, the word community, they're all saying we serve our little, wherever they are, community. They're trying to tell you and lure you in with a sense of, you're one of us. We're all like a little family, our community. It conveys you should trust us. You should believe us. We're speaking to the blah, blah, blah community. And community has a sense of membership. Well, I'm part of, like, I live in Dallas, Texas. So I'm part of the Dallas community, or at least my neighborhood community maybe. But the whole thing is you're a member, we're all together, and we're coming together to tell you the truth, unlike the other guys. Now let's play the next thing. I don't know if we can start again where we were.
That CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
plaguing our country.
Okay.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all.
I'm sorry, Matt, this is hard to do, and I didn't even tell you I wanted to do it. But so they're saying this next little thing, they're all saying the identical words, one-sided news coverage, which is obviously hugely, it's hilarious, actually hypocritical, because that's what they're presenting is one-sided news coverage. They're telling you, we've come together, we get it, so we want to help you so you're not being duped by the one-sided coverage coming from other bad people, because we're the good people. We don't do one-sided. We're telling you everything, except they're telling you exactly what they're doing. They're in lockstep with the message, the main, and when I say radical left, sometimes I think people think radical left is only the Weather Underground type people. But leftism, the whole concept of leftism has overtaken, and I say leftism, I mean the un-American disdain for freedom. America is founded, America rooted in the ideas of the Declaration of the Constitution, rooted in freedom of the individual, rooted in the idea of rights that come from God simply because you were born, rooted in the rights guaranteed in the Constitution, that the real America. Leftism, you don't even have to go all the way over to communism. Leftism even finds those ideas, foundational American ideas, as offensive, obnoxious, and to somehow be conquered and clobbered and ended. So let's go ahead now with what they're saying.
To comment on social media, more alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay, let's stop there. Okay, because the rest of it, they just extremely dangerous to our democracy over and over and over and over and over. They're attacking what they say is social media and then media outlets. But the one thing they're hitting on, among many, is without checking facts. So all these outlets are, for the most part, going along with the coronation of Joe Biden, who did not win, in the presidential election cycle. They're referring to him as president-elect. They're running stories that would flow from if he really were president-elect. They're all doing that, and yet they are mocking and ridiculing what they're calling alternative media outlets for not checking facts. And they will not report on probably the most important fact recently occurring in American history, which is there was a radical attempt to steal the 2020 elections through the manipulation of voter tabulation software and the attempt to hide that manipulation, hide the theft of this election from the American people. These people don't want to report it. There's something else ongoing too, which is, the kind of media that you're watching right there. This is media that has for years had the dominant role in America. They tell America what to think. They tell America what's true. They tell America whatever issues they choose to cover, those issues are the most important issues. They tell America what you're supposed to think about climate change, about the caravans coming across the southern border and border security, what you're supposed to think about welfare, what you're supposed to think about taxes and spending and corporations and the political parties. These major media outlets have owned the power to sway the public opinion of Americans for a long time. What they see happening is that alternative news sources like this show, like other shows in this country, are coming forward with intelligent, informed reporting, assessment, discussion of the news in ways that threatens their death grip on creating and forming America's public opinion. This is among the reasons they are so rattled. They are in the left-wing camp. They're in the kind of the ruling elite leftist, whatever the Washington insiders say we should do. This is kind of the ruling elite leftist thing we do. They're into that. But they're also into it because they have played a role in that. They have played a role for the longest time. They have their contacts inside Washington. They have their contacts in the agencies and contacts in Congress, contacts in every conceivable entity in Washington. And they feel like they're insiders because they know they can go to so-and-so and get this information, and they can be the first one to break it. They've had a death grip on information access in Washington and on shaping and molding America's public opinion. They don't like the fact that these alternative media outlets and shows like mine are able to actually impact American political opinion. They want to reclaim the market share they've lost. They want to reclaim the perch that tells America what to think. But it's a losing battle for them, and especially because very few of them will actually change and begin to report truth, begin to look into stories, begin to reject the party line story and whatever the issue is. These people have for decades enabled the ruling elite class in Washington to keep the people moderately informed while they think they're informed, to keep the people on the track of believing what the ruling elite wants them to think. And they are threatened and angered and frustrated that the American people have other sources and aren't going to listen to what they say. But in closing up this first 5, share that montage with your friends. Ask them how that could be the case, that all of these news outlets, they weren't just Fox, they weren't just NBC, they weren't just ABC, they weren't just CBS. All these news outlets are not just conveying the same general opinion, they are speaking from a script, telling the American people, don't you listen to these noisy people in social media who might be questioning the outcome of this election. Don't you listen to those people who are actually floating the idea that there was massive election fraud in the 2020 election cycle. Don't you listen to these people who are helping America understand how the fraud was carried out. It's a kind of like a drowning rat trying to hold on or something and still be relevant. They're losing their relevance because they don't pursue truth anymore. And they project what they're doing onto the people they're accusing. They don't want to pursue truth and accuracy and the real story. They want instead to accuse the people who are pursuing truth, like this show and other shows. They want to accuse them of not having the facts straight, putting things out there they shouldn't. This is a truly deeply eye-opening video that James Woods created, all of their own words, all of their own saying, brilliant, brilliant job, and really wake-up call for the American people to recognize if you tune in the evening news and you think you're informed, you're not. You're actually more like you are mesmerized, hypnotized, you are propagandized. You are not informed. And that, my very fine friends, is today's First 5.